Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Well, there it is. We have been asking, begging, pining for the Mets to acquire a front-line starting pitcher all offseason. It has been one filled with ups and downs, mostly in the beginning, a lot of downs, losing some of our favorite players from this team, Pete Alonso, trading Brandon Nimmo, Edwin Diaz leaving for the Dodgers in free agency, and slowly but surely, I should say, the offseason has started to come around a bit here, including today getting Luis Robert Jr. in the trade, getting Bo Bichette introduced, but there was still a big piece away, and that was adding to this rotation. And the breaking news here this evening, the Mets have acquired Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers from the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams. This is some great news to get on a Wednesday evening. We heard that there was a little bit of smoke about that earlier this afternoon. There was a rumor of that exact trade, Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams for Freddy Peralta. The Mets able to at least get another nice piece in this deal as well by getting Tobias Myers in the deal. This is awesome. This is a huge move for the Mets. It has been, like I said, such a topsy-turvy offseason where we have felt the lowest of lows at times. I'm not going to say this is the highest of highs I've ever had as a Mets fan, obviously, but this really puts the cherry on top for this offseason. They are about as complete of a team as I think they could possibly have asked for given the circumstances so far, with losing Pete, losing Edwin Diaz, moving on from Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, some guys that have been with this club for a long time. They have steadied the ship offensively with this lineup. It is looking like it's pretty complete at this point, but they were missing that front of the top of the rotation, front of the rotation, whatever you want to call it, type of arm. That's exactly who Freddy Peralta is. We're going to break this all down, guys. This is some crazy breaking news here on a Wednesday night. What's up? I'm Tony Metro. You guys know the drill. Daily Mets content here on my channel. You can also follow me on all the other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You might be watching this on X right now, in fact, but we mostly pop off here on YouTube. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you are watching on the tube, be sure to leave this video a like. Go ahead, do that right now. Really helps out the channel big time. And more importantly, if you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? You got to hit that button right now. Getting close to our goal of 6K subscribers by opening day. We got 65 days left to do it. I want to hear from you, Mets fans. How you feeling after the Mets trade for Freddy Peralta? We're going to break it all down right here. Let's get to the chat. I know it's going to be popping here. Flat Cheese Bun, he saw it. Two Cats, oh yeah. New Eurekan, what in the Mets is going on? Hey, New Eurekan, I know you were looking for some pitching in our earlier stream here today. There you go. You got Freddy Peralta, and on top of it, you got Tobias Myers. Not bad at all. Pat Nix, let's go. Flat Cheese Bun official. They got a decent deal on him too. I really like this deal. Getting back Tobias Myers in this deal as well is awesome to me. When we heard that reported deal earlier this afternoon of Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams for Freddy Peralta, I said, yeah, you know, I'd like to see if we could jump off of it being Jet Williams as well, or maybe get something back in addition. Well, they got a really nice reliever here in Tobias Myers as well. So really, really pleased with the return the Mets got here for two of their top 5 prospects. Let's call it what it is. Brandon Sproat was at 5. Jet Williams was at number 2 or number 3, depending on what outlet you looked at, and a guy that was hopefully going to make a impression and impact on this big league roster this year. Instead, he'll be going to Milwaukee here. So, look, I'm not going to cry about it. Best of wishes to both Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams, but the Mets just significantly enhanced their chances of being a playoff team this year in the National League. Flat Cheese Bun, I got you. Two Cats, this team slowly gets deeper and deeper, baby. I know we have a few more tricks up their sleeves. We'll see. We'll see if there's another addition in the rotation. The bullpen's looking set now after signing Luis Garcia earlier today, now adding Tobias Myers to that mix as well. I'm really pumped about this deal, guys, if you couldn't tell already. Pat Nix, I said this before the Bo signing. I wanted Peralta and Belly, but I'll take Bo and Peralta. Not bad at all, guys. Definitely not bad at all. Really, really happy with this deal. Two Cats. Robert's at the bottom is still better than having Sanger, Young, Marte, etc. at the bottom. I feel like another pitching move and position player move is coming. Should be a 95-plus win team, no doubt. High praise there from Two Cats. Look, I'm not going to start putting numbers on it yet, but I am going to say that the Mets are looking like a division contending team at this point. Look, I said it earlier in the stream. I think the Phillies are going to take a step back this year. I do think the Braves are going to have a bounce back year after a really down 2025. A lot of that due to injury. But I think the Mets are as good a shot to win the National League East at this point as any of the other 5 teams in the division. You take that any day you can get it. And then once you get into the big dance, October baseball, it could be a crapshoot at times. Obviously, you know my feelings on the Dodgers. Still miles and miles ahead of the rest of the pack, all of baseball, not just the Mets. So we get to that bridge when we get to it, if we're so lucky to. But I think this is now the best team in the National League East. I feel comfortable saying that, and there may still be some little moves to come as well. Armand's amazing. Tobias was traded from the NYC, from the Rays to Brewers for Junior Caminero. We got Story Woven Media in here as well. Look at this. Everybody popping off. Andrew Ferracchio, I'm sorry, but unless we extend Freddy, I feel it's an overpay for a rental. All right. So putting a little bit of cold water on this, I can appreciate that, Andrew, because I do think it is very important that the Mets go working on an extension for Freddy Peralta. You cannot give up your two of your top 5 prospects for a guy that's just a 1-year rental. Just not good baseball sense, not good business sense, right? So hopefully that is something the Mets already have gauged with Freddy Peralta's agents, if that's even permitted prior to the trade being official here. But I think it is a very important thing that the Mets do consider giving Freddy Peralta the extension. Of course, we know he's due $8 million this year. He's a free agent after 2026. I think they need to get working on an extension with Freddy immediately. But at the very least, very nice to know that they're also getting Tobias Myers, who has many, many years of control left through the 2030 season. So we're talking 5 more years of at least Tobias Myers as well. That makes this feel like a much more even trade, or at least a trade that you won't feel so terrible about, even if Freddy Peralta does not pan out well. But we're not going to put that in the universe right now. 2 cats, Peralta, McLean, some of those other guys return to form. This team will be fun. I couldn't agree more with you, 2 cats. Boys, I can't believe this has only been one offseason, it feels like, too. Yeah, it really has. It's felt like 2 separate off seasons. The first month and a half with the winter meetings, Pete leaving, Diaz leaving, trading Brandon Nimmo before that, Jeff McNeil getting shipped out to West Sacramento, and all of a sudden this just influx and flurry of moves from the Mets, between signing Jorge Polanco seemingly out of thin air, stealing Bo Bichette from the Phillies, landing Luis Robert last night, in the trade with the Chicago White Sox. And even before that, the signings of Devin Williams and Luke Weaver. It has really been a long, long winter. We're ready to go play ball, right? Let's see. Harold Jimenez, not Jet. Oh, there's going to be some Jet lovers in here. That's okay. Look, I felt most comfortable moving on from Jet among any of the other position player prospects in this Mets system. I had mentioned Jacob Reimer's name out there. I think he is definitely going to be someone that doesn't have a position in the future, but definitely, if he hits the way he has so far in in AA, could turn out to be a really impressive bat at the big leagues. But as far as Jet Williams, I just never thought he was going to hit for enough power. We will see. He's probably going to get ample opportunities to prove it, almost, I would assume, immediately out in Milwaukee. But this is a Mets-centric show, and for right now, I'm feeling very, very good about where the Mets stand in the National League East, without a doubt. 2 cats, you know I'm upset about the prospects, but so many of these young guys never pan out to be what they're supposed to be. It's true. The Dodgers have like no homegrown talent. Why they stay winning? It's a good point. Look, you're going to always have guys that come up and don't live up to the expectations of when they were top prospects. There's a couple guys on this current Mets roster that I think you can make that argument. I'm not going to go through all that stuff right now, but there's no doubt prospects, suspects until proven otherwise. What we know is we're getting Freddy Peralta, who's been one of the top starting pitchers in the game for a number of years now, something that this team sorely needed and lacked. And now I'm feeling a lot better about this rotation. And that without even talking about Tobias Myers, right? How cool is that? Who, truth hurts Wilkie. Tobias Myers could be a sleeper. Yeah, and the Mets have 5 years of Tobias Myers by acquiring him in this deal. So I love that they were able to also get him in this. I'm going to start sharing my screen in a second here with you guys, but let me go through the rest of the chat here really quick. 2 cats, Dodgers can play bad baseball in October, just about making it. We only have to see them like 7 times in the regular season, all about one series come playoff time, 100%. Lorenzo Man, Tobias Myers hell of an arm added to the bullpen, no doubt about it. I am almost equally as pumped about Myers as Peralta. Obviously, I'm not, but that is just a huge addition to this trade to also get the 5 years of control on Tobias Myers in this deal as well. Let's see, Mark Rapp, let's go, Tony, let's go, Mark, let's go. We've been talking about this all off season. You guys, if you've been watching my channel throughout this entire winter, you know that Freddy Peralta has been my number one target for a starting pitcher this entire offseason. The numbers he has put up with Milwaukee, yes, admittedly only having 1 year of control, obviously a little bit of a risk to trade for that. But like I've also said, always felt like he was someone that perfectly lines up for a contract extension after a trade. You don't feel that way about Tariq Skubal, obviously. He is testing free agency next year. We know that. But in the case of Freddy Peralta, with the looming CBA negotiations, a potential lockout in 2027, I feel like Freddy Peralta is going to sign on the dotted line and have an extension here in Queens before opening day 2026. So I am really happy about this move. Ahmad Productions, this is like watching the CPU AI completely alter a team. I literally have no clue what the vision is still. I mean, the vision is pretty clear at this point, I think. They've put a couple different athletes on this team. Yeah, they have like 3 different shortstops, you know, granted 2 of them playing out of position at this point, right? But they've improved in center field, defense, and hopefully offensively. Left field, I think you're going to see a lot of Carson Benj out there making his MLB debut. The rotation still has some question marks. Maybe there's one more addition. I kind of doubt it at this point, but I see the vision. I don't know why you don't see a vision at this point. It's going to look different. It's not going to be the way they were trying to win games in the past with Pete Alonso and McNeil and Brandon Nimmo, but I can see how it turns into a 90-plus win team and one that's knocking on the door to take an NL East crown this year for sure. Measy BX, I thought we were rebuilding. What happened? That's what the most negative Mets fans wanted to tell you. They're rebuilding. They don't care about winning. Steve Cohen got his casino. He doesn't care about the Mets anymore. Yeah, that's all kind of been debunked and thrown out the window at this point, right? Real Rush, should we get Framber now? I've said it, guys. Framber with the qualifying offer attached to him. Still feel like that's kind of unlikely. I think after getting Freddy Peralta in this deal, it's even more unlikely. But if you really want to try to put the Mets over the top here and you sign Framber Valdez now, that would be pretty impressive. At that point, I think they're going to start thinking about shifting and moving out another piece from this rotation in the form of Senga or Peterson or one of those guys if they were to do that with Framber Valdez. But it's possible. Nothing. I can't put anything past David Stearns and the Mets this offseason because they have done so many things out of thin air that I did not expect to happen. But here we are once again late at night talking about it. Let's see. Ahmad Productions. Who the hell is Tobias Myers? Well, he's got some pretty good numbers this last year or two with Milwaukee. Pitched out of relief and has pitched as a starter for them. We're going to get into his numbers here and break it all down. Timothy Frith, should Myers take over closing duties for the Mets after Diaz signed with the Dodgers? That's going to still go to Devin Williams. Not quite yet on Tobias Myers, but maybe a future as a closer. I don't know. We're going to see if that might be an opportunity for him based on some of the numbers that he has put up here over the last 2 years. Guys, thank you all for tuning in. Hit that like button. Go ahead, do that right now. Really appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Really appreciate that. Trying to get to our goal of 6K subs by opening day. So thank you all so much for doing that. You guys have been awesome about it lately. And thanks for popping off in the chat, coming and joining and talking shop with me here on a Wednesday night. Andrew Ferracchio, we have 6 starters in there. Another move to be made, question mark? I mean, yes, possible. But obviously we know Kodai Senga pitches with the 6-man rotation, kind of needs it to keep him fresh and healthy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they keep it the way that it is right now, or if maybe they are going to try to ship out Senga. But to this point, there have been no suitors for him. Still has a pretty good chunk of change left on his contract and some major questions coming off his second half of 2025. So I don't know whether they do an addition or whether they do a subtraction in the form of Senga. I'm really not sure. But still, today, right now, this Mets rotation, much better than it was 2 hours ago before acquiring Peralta, and to boot, getting Tobias Myers, who has experience both as a starter and as a reliever. So I'm really pumped about that. Let's see, Two Cats. No, I got you, my guys. Mets sign Chris Bassett or Lucas Giolito. You know, those aren't terrible ideas at this point. Now that you feel a little more comfortable with having a 1A, 1B Probably a little too early to say that about Nolan McLean, but to have a pretty solid 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation with McLean and with Freddy Peralta now, you can go for a little more conservative kind of signing in the form of Lucas Giolito or in even Chris Bassett, who ate a lot of innings for the Blue Jays last year. I know we don't want to talk about that. I know we don't want to hear about innings eaters and stuff like that, but that might be the best possible thing the Mets could do at this point, rather than sending out any more pieces of their farm system or signing a guy like Framber Valdez that's going to be both expensive in terms of money and years, but also cost you the draft picks from his qualifying offer that Houston had extended him prior to this offseason. All right, let's do this, guys. I'm going to share my screen here with you, and we're going to take a look at the numbers. These are actually Tobias Myers' numbers, but first, let's just get into this all. I mean, I'm pretty sure this was Will Salmon, our buddy from the show, who broke this news. I mean, is anybody having a better offseason than Will Salmon? Let's be honest. This dude has just been breaking stories left and right. I don't think it actually was him, but Will, 50 minutes ago, the New York Mets are close to acquiring starting pitchers Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers in a trade with the Milwaukee Brewers for Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams, league sources tell The Athletic. After that, maybe only a minute later, this is a done deal, league sources said. Guys, this is awesome. Really important move for the Mets here. We're going to get into Peralta's numbers. I wanted to see if there were any other important tweets or things we needed to know, but you got the passing bomb. Mets acquired all-star right-hander Freddy Peralta, Brandon Sproat, Jet Williams going back, and I don't think he actually mentions Tobias Myers in this tweet. Not that it really matters. We already know the parameters of the deal now. It was actually MLB's Feinsand, Mark Feinsand, that was a part of breaking this. So multiple people got wind of this. We heard just today, and oh, by the way, I'm so sorry. I'd be remiss if I didn't say it. Thank you so much to Dodd Train for the $1.99 super chat. I appreciate that. Going straight to Mookie's Bone Funds over here. Thank you very much for that, Dodd Train. And thank you for coming in with the $4.99 super chat, Harold Jimenez. Thank you very much. I appreciate it so much. He says, I'm starting to see Stearns' vision. I'm just glad to see the Mets didn't give up after losing the Tucker sweepstakes. I just subscribed LGM. Thank you, Harold. I appreciate that very much. Welcome to the channel. We got a great community of Mets fans here, and I'm always pumping out daily content for you guys on our beloved orange and blue. I kind of agree with you, man. That is kind of a fear that I think a lot of people could have had, is the Tucker thing doesn't go our way. He goes to the Dodgers, who, I mean, look, I've said it and I continue to say it. Why I haven't played the games with Tucker on the Dodgers at this point with how loaded they are. But I mean, I'm happy to see the Mets just didn't simply give up and did actually continue this offseason in an aggressive manner, getting Bo Bichette, trading for Luis Robert Jr., and now, like I said, the cherry on top, getting Freddy Peralta in this deal with the Brewers. It is really good. I like it. Bullfrog, who do we get after this, man? I don't know, man. We are insatiable, us as Mets fans. I don't know if there's any big moves out there, guys. This could be it. And if this is the end of the Mets' big moves this offseason, I got to give it probably, I'll give it a B+. I'll give it a B+. The only reason I'm not going to give it an A- is because of how the Edwin Diaz situation went. Had Edwin Diaz went to anywhere else but the Dodgers, and I understand that's out of David Stern's control, I would have probably given him the A. The fact he just went and made the most superior team in not only the National League, but in all of baseball even better, and filled their biggest weakness as closer, it's hard for me to give David Stearns anything better than a B+, but I will give him a B+ for right now. It's definitely been a solid offseason and a real turnaround from the early doldrums that they were in after losing Pete and Diaz and everything else that had went down here. My guys, Mets, let's get either Eugenio Suarez or Jarren Duran. I don't think there's another bit. Eugenio Suarez is not as big of a move, but as far as Jarren Duran, I don't think that's happening. Look, we've talked about it. It's fun to, think about that happening, but I don't think Jarren Duran is going to be on the Mets docket next. I think it's going to be some little additions, maybe a guy like Austin Hayes. That's a possibility, another fourth outfielder. Now you don't have to rush Carson Bench to debut on opening day as a rookie, but I don't think we're going to be seeing any big trades or big signings. Hey, like I said, I have been wrong before. I will be wrong again. And the Mets continue to zig when I think they're going to zag. So who knows? Maybe they're going to shock me once again. But guys, here's your newest top of the rotation arm for the Mets. A lot of us have been begging for it. Freddy Peralta, who will turn 30 years old in June this year, and he has been nothing but a workhorse for the Milwaukee Brewers over the last couple years. 3 straight seasons of 30 starts or more, coming off what was probably a career year for him. 2.70 earned run average in 33 starts for the Brew Crew in over 176 innings, including 204 strikeouts, an ERA plus of 154. Even the FIP, I mean, pretty close to what you got in terms of his earned run average. It's a bit higher, obviously, but the whip is very healthy at 1.075. Big strikeout guy here. Doesn't walk too many batters. Keeps the ball in the ballpark. So, look, it's hard to say ace for anyone these days. I think Tariq Skubal is an ace. I think prior to him having Tommy John, Garrett Cole was an ace. We'll see if that's still the case as he returns from injury, but this guy is about as close as you can come to being called an ace without actually maybe being in that upper tier. This is an awesome deal for the Mets to get a guy that they could put atop of their rotation, a veteran, a guy that is going to basically start game 1 of a playoff series for you if you're fortunate enough to find yourself there. So this is definitely a really nice trade for the Mets. We'll go back now here over his previous 3 years. So since 2023, actually they didn't put it in there for some reason. Hold on, come on, Baseball Reference, give it to me here. 2023 through 2025, over the past 3 years, has made 95 starts. I mean, an average of what, like 31 and a half starts per year or something like that. A WAR of 10, 3.40 earned run average, an ERA plus of 123. I mean, just numbers all across the board are really, really impressive. Again, I don't put him in that Tariq Skubal, that pre-Tommy John, Garrett Cole kind of territory, but he's right up there, in my opinion, as a top 20 starter in Major League Baseball. And if you get what you were hoping out of Nolan McLean to take steps forward in his second season in the big leagues, and if maybe Jonah Tong comes up at some point and he's going to turn into what a lot of scouts believe he's going to be, the Mets could have a very, very solid 1 through 3 in this rotation without accounting for the bounce backs from some of those veterans who had their second half woes. So, real rush, how much should we extend Peralta for what? And do you think the AAV should be 8 years, 240? That's a little longer and bigger than I would like to, if I'm being honest. Peralta, again, he turns 30 years old in June. So far throughout his career, let's see, total innings, has pitched just under 1,000 innings since debuting in 2018. Wasn't like just a clean coming up to the big leagues immediately as a rookie kind of situation. He bounced back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen for Milwaukee his first 3 years, and then obviously 2020 was one of those years, so that was a weird season. It's not a ton of workload considering he's hitting he's been in the league essentially 7 years now at this point, but I'd feel more comfortable going the 6 years on Peralta. And look, you're going to have to give him a little extra either in terms of years or in terms of money if you want him to sign an extension right now. Otherwise, he may just go test free agency next year. So I'm willing to go to maybe 6 years on an extension for Freddy Peralta. Take him through his age 37 or age 36 season. Maybe somewhere around the AAV of $30 million, which is pretty co-measure with what all the other starters have been getting. Dylan Cease just signed 7 years for $210 million, which came out to something like 30-something AAV. So I would be willing to do something similar to what Cease just got for Freddy Peralta. If I could lower it to like the 6 years instead of 7, I'd feel more comfortable with that. But, I'm hoping that David Stearns has already had discussions about that with Freddy Peralta's camp. Let's see if there is anything out there right now on Twitter. Just see tweets from Elon. Breaking: Mets in talks to acquire Freddy Peralta. This is awesome. I mean, Philly fans are in shambles. They are just sitting pat. They are losing their minds. We got Luis Robert. They get, who they wanted for a long time. And now, of course, picking up Freddy Peralta, who, I don't think the Phillies really, truly need him, but their main calling card or thing that they could hold over our heads as Mets fans is, your rotation still stinks. Okay, well, how about now? It's looking a lot better with Freddy Peralta in tow. And hey, let's not forget about Tobias Myers either. That is not someone that you want to just gloss over. Before we do that, let me go and look at Freddy Peralta's Statcast so we can get a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the metrics on how he performed here in 2024. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Let's see. Two Cats Biscuits. Biscuits, LGM. Did you say something else? Biscuits, we still an 80-win team? No way, Biscuits. Come on, man. No way. This team probably is projecting as like a 90-win team based on fan graphs right now. They were at like 87 already before this. Now they're adding Freddy Peralta and whatever Tobias Myers' role is with this team. They're probably pushing close to 90 wins based on fan graphs and all that crap out there. So pick your favorite outlet. The Mets are not an 80-win team at this point unless everything goes horribly, terribly wrong. Let's see. Andrew Ferracchio, Stearns will never do that. That's why I'm afraid of trading away 2 top prospects for a rental. As far as the extension I just mentioned for Freddy, I mean, the only thing is he did extend Freddy once while he was the general manager out in Milwaukee. So, maybe he'll do it again. Who knows him better than David Stearns himself. So I do think it's possible. I would love to know if that is something that's been discussed already between the Mets front office and Peralta's camp. But BMAX says Stearns clearly worked to bring in guys with reputations of being positive in the clubhouse. That's why I doubt they go hard after Valdez. Dude, it sounds like Valdez has totally ruined a lot of his free agency value this year with that whole crossing up his catcher last year. I don't know if that's truly something people are thinking about. I think it has more to do with him having a qualifying offer attached to him and being 32 years old. But that does not sound like something that the Mets want to add to what was it sounds like toxic clubhouse at times last year. So hopefully, the Mets did bring in another good clubhouse guy in Freddy Peralta. I can't speak to who he is as a person or anything like that. I've only ever seen him looking pretty smiley and happy around his teammates and stuff, but what does that really say? Nothing to me, at least as a fan. But hopefully this is another good clubhouse edition for sure. Two Cats, Mets are better than the Nationals, Marlins, Rockies, Giants, D-backs, Padres, Cardinals, Reds, Pirates, Cubs, Spurs, and most of the AL teams. Well, we will get into those conversations eventually, but all I am really truly focused on is the National League East. And I think this is the kind of move that pushes them closer to being a champion in the NL East than it does to third place, where I think a lot of people probably pegged them even after the Luis Robert trade today, because this was such an important thing the Mets needed to cover and achieve this year, was adding a frontline starting pitcher, and that's exactly what they did here tonight in flying colors. King One Supreme, I like the team, but I'm not sold on the lineup. Let's see what the lineup does. I am a little concerned about the lineup. I'm a little concerned about the defense, which we were told was going to be improved this year. Playing 2 guys out of position on the corner infield spots. I'm definitely a little concerned there. I'm with you. If Luis Robert Jr. looks even representative of his 2023 self, hits 20 to 23 home runs, that's a huge thing. If Mark Vientos starts hitting closer to the way he did in 2024, okay. Brett Beatty builds off a really strong second half. Same for Francisco Alvarez. And what does Carson Bench come up into? David Stearns wouldn't rush anybody that he didn't think was actually truly ready to play in the big leagues yet. What does Carson Bench do if he comes up and gets significant time in the big leagues with the Mets this year? Does he become a 17 to 20 home run bat with a 340 on base percentage? I'm just throwing numbers out here based on what they have been touted as in the past, right? But if the Mets can get even just a few of those things to hit, they could be one of the better teams in the National League. They could be right up there with the Brewers, with the Dodgers, competing for the best record in the NL. Again, Dodgers probably miles ahead still. They still got to go play the games, though. The Mets need some things to break right for them. The Dodgers would need some things to go the wrong way for them. But I do think the Mets are creeping closer to the pack than they were just about a month ago before this flurry of signings and acquisitions that they have made. So I am pumped about that. Tomb Raiders in December, I predicted Tucker, Peralta, and Robert. Pretty close. Never lost confidence in Stearns. Tomb Raiders, good job. Keep predicting things. Good things only, please. Let's take a look real quick. Pitching run value in the 97th percentile for Freddy Peralta. Off-speed run value, 96th percentile. That's because of his nasty changeup that he throws 21% of the time. He's also got the slider curve to go along with his four-seam fastball. Expected ERA, 75th percentile, a little bit higher than his actual ERA, which was 2.70. His expected at 3.43, but still in the 75th percentile. Hard hit percentage, though, in the 90th percentile. So good metrics all across the board here for Freddy Peralta. So you got to love it. It is a great signing or trade. One that if he continues to pitch the way he has the last 3 years with Milwaukee, is going to make for a really nice 1-2 punch with Nolan McLean for sure. No doubt about it. That one blue monkey says, you think they get Framber Valdez? I said it before in this stream. I still feel like that's kind of unlikely. I don't know though, man. I have been wondering what the Mets are going to do next, and they keep surprising me. So maybe Framber Valdez is next. But guys, we're going to keep it short here. It's late. But one thing that we can't just gloss over is the fact the Mets were able to also get Tobias Myers in this deal. We saw the tweet earlier from a couple different reporters and accounts. I think Will Salmon mentioned it as well, that the Brewers had extended the offer of Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat straight up for Freddy Peralta. And he essentially said in that article, Will, that the Mets were not willing to go there, at least not yet. And so now we get this news here just a few hours later. The Mets are getting Freddy Peralta, but they're also getting Tobias Myers. So if you don't know who Tobias Myers is, let me introduce you. So Tobias came up this past season in 2024. So I'm sorry, 2 seasons ago, if you want to call it that way. But just 27 years old, 6th-round pick taken by the Baltimore Orioles. And if I'm not mistaken, was one of the pieces that went back to Milwaukee in the trade for Corbin Burns. Again, guy has 5 years of control, made his debut in 2024, pitched to a 2.7 wins above replacement. At an ERA of 3 in 25 starts, also made 2 relief appearances. And then this past year, had some injuries and that kind of slowed him down, but still 22 appearances and 6 starts, pitching to a 3.55 ERA. His FIP 3.92, 117 ERA plus this past year. This is great to get a guy that has years of control left. And I'm going to pull up his Statcast real quick so we can take a look at his mix as well. But a young, controllable arm for the next 5 seasons that you can either use as a swingman, take him in, to put him into the rotation at points, put him in your bullpen as a long reliever, as a guy that, makes spot starts here and there, so you don't have to continue to do what the Mets did last year, having this Uber probably on hire to take guys up and down from Syracuse every other day when they were in need of an arm. This is where Tobias Myers, I think, could really shine for this team. But 6-pitch mix from Tobias Myers is 4-seamer, cutter, slider, splitter, curveball, and changeup. Only throws the curveball and changeup 1% of the time each, but mainly relying on the cutter, slider, splitter to play off of his fastball here. Look, nothing's going to jump off the charts here for you in 2025. It's not the most pretty Statcast metrics here for Tobias Myers. 2024, again, not the most beautiful thing of all time, but a young guy that was drafted in the 6th round, that has 5 more seasons of control, that was well thought of enough by the Brewers organization that he would be a piece in the Corbin Burns trade a few years ago. I love that the Mets were able to get this guy. If you want to call him as a throw-in, call him as a throw-in. That's fine, but the Mets are getting some real skin out of this trade as well. Not just the Peralta and what he is going to do for this team, but to also get this dude, I think this is a huge win for the Mets, without a doubt. Let me go back to the chat here. Let's see. 2 Cats. They have to figure out the Braves in particular. Always a thorn, even when they were terrible last year. Oh, my God. We had some brutal losses to the Braves last year. Remember the one at Citi Field? The Mets are leading 6-0 and ended up losing like 12-6. That was one of the worst losses of the season. Let's see. 2 Cats. Mets are better than the Nats. Yes, and most of the AL. Absolutely. We talked about that one. Let's see. That one blue monkey. You think they get Framber? BMAC 2025 Robert is still a big improvement over what we got out of center field last season, offense and defensively, no doubt. And I don't want to sit here and tell you that he's going to just automatically go back to hitting like he did in 2023. But if he can even just be representative of that, and again, I said the bar is low for me. Hit 20 home runs, get on base at a 310 clip. It's kind of asking for a lot out of Robert, who struggled to get on base even at a 300 average over the past couple years. But if he could just improve a little bit, and I think he will in a more motivated situation, being away from the Chicago White Sox that are perennial 100 loss team every season for the last few years. and to not be getting pitched around the way he probably was in that lineup. So I'm totally with you there on Robert. Harold Jimenez, I'm curious to see what the Mets will do with Beatty and Swaggy V. I think Beatty is going to be getting a lot of time in left. I think he will still get some time at third. I would not be surprised to see him mix in at first and second base. He's essentially your new Jeff McNeil, where they will find a way to get his bat in the lineup when they feel like he's hot, when they feel like he's got a good matchup, even maybe for defensive purposes at times. Who's Bo Bichette going to be at third? Marcus Semien, he probably will never be taken over for defensive reasons for him at second base, but how does Jorge Polanco pan out at first base? So I think Beatty's basically going to be the new Jeff McNeil Swiss Army knife of this team that just plays all over the field and hopefully continues to give you a quality bat like we saw in the second half last year. Andrew for Baseball 2K3, do you think they still have a shot at Skubal? I don't, and it's not because the Mets couldn't make the trade for Skubal, but I don't think the Mets want to trade what it's going to cost. And honestly, I don't think any team in baseball does. Even the Dodgers. The Tigers have made their asking price known. It is incredibly high. And the dude is testing free agency next year. It's done. It's a wrap. So I don't think many teams want to give up half of their farm system, their crown jewels, for 1 year of a guy that is destined to go test the market the following season. So it's not to say the Mets aren't capable of making a trade for Skubal. I just don't think it's the smart move roster management economic wise. So I would be very surprised to see the Mets in on Skubal if that even is a possibility at this point. Let's see, Andrew. Really wish these teams make these moves during the day. Why do they wait until late at night? It's always seemingly the wrong time for them to make these moves, I swear, right? Either late at night or super early in the morning. Like, can we make it like 6 o'clock every afternoon? You just announce all the deals from the day. That would be so much easier on our lives. Mark Benjamin, good week for Stearns. Extend Peralta like they did Santana. They're good. I like it, Mark. Yes, get that Santana deal up and running for Freddy Peralta. Let's see. Trade Peralta for Skubal, says Tomb Raiders. Yeah, could you imagine? Jimmy James, the good thing about this, Luis Robert, he's a high upside with good fielding skills in center. Still leaves some competition for the spot with other prospects we have. 100% Jimmy James. I think it's going to be a pretty well-rounded team here. Again, wouldn't be surprised if maybe there's an addition, kind of like an Austin Hayes type of dude as your fourth outfielder, or I guess at that point would basically be like a fifth outfielder, but a bench guy, right? I think that there is room for that. We will see. But the fact that neither Beatty nor Vientos have been dealt to this point, and the Mets have seemingly addressed about every need that they have had this offseason, tells me that they are not going anywhere. That either one, they did not have as much trade value as the Mets might have hoped that they would in this offseason. And number two, that they still see some value in them. Obviously, Beatty has more right now coming off his second half than Vientos is coming off his disappointing 2025. But there's really nowhere to put or move these guys to at this point. So I think they're going to play roles on this team. What exactly? We don't know. Like I said, just ran through the situation with Brett Beatty, maybe getting around a bunch of different infield and outfield positions. And then in the case of Vientos, is he going to hit like he was capable of in 2024? And if he does, there's your DH on an everyday basis. So a couple more here, guys. Let's see. Michael DePinto loved this move. LGM, absolutely. I am pumped about it. We're going to have a lot of content on this tomorrow, guys. Let's see. Who else? Bistro Young. Should the Mets go for Framber Valdez? That is the most popular question of the night. I mean, look, yeah, I'm not against it. It's just money at this point. Obviously, the draft pick capital for signing another player with a qualifying offer, but I'd really be surprised if that happens. I really would at this point. I feel like the Mets have done a great job of addressing the needs that they, one, came into this offseason, and two, unfortunately, kind of created themselves by allowing some of their key players from last season leave. But I don't know if Framber Valdez is necessary after considering what it's going to require, giving another player with a qualifying offer the contract and the penalties they'd have to pay for the draft picks. So I don't know. I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong. If I got the news tomorrow morning, Framber Valdez and the Mets agrees to a 4-year deal, I'm going to be jumping for joy here. And then I'm ready to say the NL East is ours. Right now, I think the Mets got a puncher's chance. They still need a couple things to bounce back their way after a really miserable end to 2025. But if they were to get Valdez, forget it. All bets are off. Bring the NL East crown to us. I'd feel good about saying that. Back to orthodoxy. Let's go Dodgers. Good move by the Mets. Hey, good luck to you guys. As much as it pains me to say, if you can come in here and be cool and be respectful about it, man, right back at you. So congrats to you guys on getting Tucker and on Edwin Diaz, and thank you for being cool, man. Let's see who else. Peralta official. Yeah, I think I already saw the Mets Twitter account, official Twitter account, post a picture of it, which means it's like for real, guys. Like, damn, this is crazy. Yep, we've acquired Freddy Peralta and Tobias Myers from Milwaukee in exchange for right-handed pitcher Brandon Sproat and minor league infielder Jet Williams. Welcome to New York, Freddie and Tobias. Hang it in the Louvre, everybody. Let's go. I'm not French, but I will be for today. Let's get it going. MLB season is coming soon, boys and girls. If you're watching, I don't know. I'm going to look at that, see what my viewer percentage is from each of the genders and ages. A couple more here, guys. Let me see. Harold Jimenez. It's best to go after Scooble next offseason or circle back around the trade deadline. There you go, to push us over the top to secure that NL East spot. Totally agree. Look, you have to hope and pray that a team like the Dodgers, specifically them, do not go and trade for Scooble. But if he gets traded to anywhere else, obviously they get the leg up on the Mets in potentially negotiating an extension with him, or at the very least him just kind of getting comfortable in that new setting and getting an idea and envisioning what it'd be like to sign an extension with them, right? That's why you consider doing a trade for a guy even when he is going to test free agency the next year. This is such a special circumstance that it is a guy at such peak value based on back-to-back Cy Young trophies, whatever you want to call it, awards, that with the Tigers knowing they're not going to sign him and him having Scott Boras as an agent, that I think it's one that you just really hope nobody deals for him before you and he doesn't like that new team he goes to. But I think an extension, or I'm sorry, I think that a potential deal at the trade deadline is exactly the right move. Check back in with the Tigers. Where are they at in terms of the AL Central race and their playoff hopes for 2026? And maybe then you could get him for a little bit of a discount. So back to orthodoxy. If you guys could add another position, what would you do and who? Me, personally, at this point, I'd still would have went after Cody Bellinger, even after the Luis Robert news this morning. But obviously that is off the table with him signing with the Yankees. But I would still probably go for a bat, regardless of position. Obviously you can't fit a bunch of round pegs into square holes. But if you could get a Eugenio Suarez to DH, that's not a terrible idea. I don't think a more sure thing than what Mark Vientos is coming off his really rough 2025. So really, I'd be looking to kind of fill out a more secure guy for the DH spot for us is what I would say. Nikolai De Niro, left field. Yeah, a good choice. The only problem there, you're blocking Carson Benj. If he really is the real deal and ready to debut here, then, you know, you're not going to really have an opportunity to give to Carson Benj at any point this year. So again, that's why I said earlier, maybe a guy like Austin Hayes, a guy that is not going to block anybody. If Carson Benj is ready to come up and perform at the big league level, you make room for him with Austin Mays, despite him maybe being on the roster. But yeah, I could see that being the case. Baseball 23, are they going to still get Mason Miller? Padres just spoke about Vientos, and if no, are the Mets done? I don't think Mason Miller's happening. They traded a haul for him at this last year's deadline. The Padres did. They're going through some unusual circumstances with ownership. It's turmoil there in San Diego, but I still think, you know, you got AJ Preller running the show. There's the GM. It's going to take a huge haul to get Mason Miller. I don't see that happening. I'd love it, but I don't see that happening. I really don't think there'll be another big move from the Mets this offseason. We've gotten a couple, none probably bigger or as big as this one, along with Bo Bichette. I think this is it. I don't think we will see another move that's going to get us as juiced as this or as the Bo Bichette signing. Try saying that 3 times fast. I think maybe a little addition here or there, but I think this is it for the big ones. Michael DePinto. Ben's going to play left field. I say more pitching. Can never go wrong with bringing in as much pitching as possible. That's a line from Earl Weaver that I actually read earlier this afternoon. Something along the lines of, I usually don't say it because it's boring, but when things go wrong, it's usually because there's not good enough pitching, something like that. I totally misquoted it, but you can never have too much pitching. We know that for sure. So I wouldn't be against trying to go get more, definitely. Let's see. Phil DeLuca. Hey, Tony, let's go. What's up, Phil? How's it going, man? Welcome to the stream. Glad you could tune in right before we're logging off here. Back to orthodoxy. I miss Belly, but I'd be nervous about 21, 22 Belly rearing his ugly head. Obviously, you guys got that MVP year out of Bellinger, but yeah, I think he's comfortable in the Bronx, and I always thought that was where he was going to end up going back to. So Belly back to the Bronx, but trust me, your Dodgers are going to be just fine without Bellinger. Believe me on that. I know you know that too. Tomb Raider still like Goldschmidt for defense? Ugh. No. Stay far away from him. I get it. He can hit lefties, but no, I don't want any part of him. There's no room. That is a guy on your bench then that's just totally unathletic and capable of doing anything but playing a decent first base still and mashing against lefties. I don't know. I mean, even Starling Marte, someone proposed in the stream earlier today that I did, maybe bringing him back, partly because him and Juan Soto are buddies, but at least he can run and do a little bit more athletic stuff than Paul Goldschmidt can at this point, right? Mark Benjamin says, the last Mets pitcher to win 17 games, I think it was R.A. Dickey. Well, a lot of that has to do with how your team scores runs for you, because Jacob deGrom probably should have won about 22 games each of those couple seasons where he was turning in Cy Young performances. Unfortunately, the Mets never scored for him, so we don't really care much about pitchers' individual wins anymore at this point, right? But yeah, it'd be nice to see Freddy get 17 in his win ledger there, right, for the Mets this year. That would mean he pitched pretty damn well, or the Mets offense was scoring a lot of runs. Red Horse Adventures, Yanks tried trolling the Mets by pushing the Bellinger signing while the Mets announced Bichette. Now the Mets announced Peralta. Drop the mic on them. I love it. Just boom. Yeah, I didn't actually take it that way that the Yankees necessarily did that, but I know some people did, but that's fine. Clearly, the Mets have done a lot more this offseason than the Yankees have, and unfortunately, because we share a town, we have no choice but to share some of the headlines, and it can look like they're taking jabs at each other at times. But look, I'm focused on the Mets here, and I'm pretty pleased with where this offseason has brought us to so far. Statcast, does this Dodger team have potential to break the Mariners' win record? No doubt about it. Almost every Dodgers team does, because they have just acquired so much insane talent over the years. But they were really close a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was one of the years they lost to, I think that was 2021 or 2022. I can't remember exactly. But look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you don't win the World Series. And the Dodgers will apologize to nobody for not having as good of regular seasons these past 2 years, but still going on to win the most important games, and those come at the end of October for the Fall Classic. So, maybe they'll do it. That'd be kind of cool to see a team do it. I don't want it to be the Dodgers. You know my feelings on that team. But, yeah, at the end of the day, if you win 87 games, if your name's the one on the commissioner's trophy at the end of the year, they don't remember how many games you won in the regular season. The only reason we know the Cardinals only won 83 games and the wild card in 2006 is because they beat the Mets on the way to winning the World Series. But nobody cares that they only won 83 games in the regular season, because they won the ones that mattered at the very end of it all. Anthony Ferrer, let's go after Zach Gallen. Okay, real quick, I'm going to say this on Gallen because I looked at him earlier today, was getting ready to do a video. You don't want to touch Zach Gallen. Really scary looking numbers over the last 2 years. Statcast numbers have plummeted, and he has the qualifying offer attached to him. Not somebody I want to touch, even on a 1-year deal, because he has the QO attached to him from Arizona. If I'm a betting man, I think he's going back to Arizona on a super team-friendly deal, trying to rebuild his value, because nobody wants to touch him coming off the last 2 years that he has had, while also having to give up draft pick compensation. So the idea of Gallen, I like it. Used to be, top 5 Cy Young vote getter in the league for a number of years with Arizona. Unfortunately, he could be just trending downward. 2 straight years of really bad numbers from him. So you add in the qualifying offer deal with him, and for me, it's got to be a no. But Harold Jimenez, I think Cody would have been a good defensive pick for any team, but production at the plate would have went down. I think he always wanted to stay in the Bronx. That's what I had been saying the whole time for sure. Jersey X, Goldie's pushing 50. Goldie is too old. I can't do it. Two Cats, you hate the Cardinals? I hate the Cardinals. Robbed us of 2006 without a doubt. Unbelievable. And Sal Capello, the one that's going to round us out, get Scooble. All right, so I think it's unlikely they're doing Scooble, but again, I have been wrong about this Mets team all offseason. David Stearns has found a way to pull the trigger on so many moves I didn't see coming, between Bo Bichette, even trading for Luis Robert yesterday. It has been a whirlwind, but I am very, very pleased with where we're at. I'd like to see maybe a few little small additions, and that's kind of what I still expect at this point, but a Scooble-like trade, I think it's unlikely. But hey, you got to believe. And all offseason, all last year in the second half, we kept saying how we needed an ace and to improve this rotation. And I got to give it up for David Stearns and the Mets front office. They did a great job by getting Freddy Peralta tonight. So, guys, that's going to do it for now. But I'm going to have a ton of content out for you tomorrow. We have an interview with one of WFAN's personalities. That's going to be out tomorrow evening. But before that, we're going to be talking Freddy Peralta. We're going to be talking Tobias Myers. We're going to be talking all things Mets. That's what we do here. So hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and do that now if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Really appreciate that. And go ahead and leave this video a like as well. If you're a Mets fan or just a baseball fan, really appreciate it. Goes a long way toward helping us out here as we continue to get to that goal of 6K subs by opening day. Thank you so much once again, guys. Freddy Peralta is a New York Met. More on it later this week. Until then, though, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.